Welcome to Behind the Page, the Eli Marks podcast, with your hosts, John Gaspard and me, Jim Cunningham.
Jim,
What do you know, brother?
I think we both need to back off the mic a little bit. We're too excited, getting a little
it's good
too
to
loud.
see you, that's all.
Yeah, I know. You're excited like the dogs are when I've been gone for 30 seconds and I come in the house and it's like I've been gone for 3 days. They just
Part of
have
their
no-
charm.
It is part of their charm, and it also lets me know that any burglar is going to get the same greeting, and maybe it will scare him or her away. Anyway, everybody, hey, welcome to this is episode 7 of season 6. I'm going to call it 607 for lack of a better name.
No, I don't know. I won't dispute any. Math is not my area.
No, I know you're not. That's not. You were hired for your looks, totally for your looks. And
Oops.
speaking of looks, our guest today is the adorable, the fascinating, the enigmatic Nancy Anderson, a.k.a. Fancy Nancy.
Yeah.
She has a great story to tell for this season about someone who is a great magician, but has another job. And
A real job. Let's call it a real job.
a real job.
significant job.
Yes. And she came into magic a fascinating way that we'll get into. I met her, I think, at my first Magi Fest. And she sidled up to me and said, I've read your books. I really enjoy them. And I thought, I don't like this being recognized. I don't like this. What is it Merv Griffin says in The Man of Two Brains? I can't sneak around anymore. Everybody recognizes me.
You're the elevator killer. Merv Griffin.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I've always just loved to kill. I've really enjoyed it. But then I got famous and just too hard for me. I mean, so many witnesses. I mean, everybody recognized me. I couldn't even lurk anymore. I'd hear, who's that lurking over there? Isn't that Merv Griffin? So I came to Europe to kill. And it's really worked out very well for me. Till now.
Anyway, so yeah, me and Merv Griffin in the same sentence. Anyway, Nancy, I've seen her at other events since then, and I also follow her online. She also, I think I mentioned this earlier on a previous podcast, but she just recently became a member of the Magic Castle. And-
Congratulations, Nancy.
Yes, and I think her next goal is to perform there. She's not one of these members who just wants to be a member. She wants to be a working member.
Which does not surprise me after talking to her for.
No, she is,
She is driven.
She is driven. She is driven. And she also, one of these people who, reaches a point in her life, very successful in her career. Kids are gone. She's not going to sit around and knit.
No.
Not at all. So,
She's going to sit around and double lift.
exactly.
Yeah.
The interview kicked off with, like I said, different sort of origin story. In fact, I might say it's the most original and perhaps heartwarming. Can I say
I
that word?
agree.
We've heard so
I
far.
concur.
Yeah. And it all started with her career, which is way outside of magic. Nancy, it's great to have you here. But before we dive into you as a magician, tell us a little bit about your professional journey and what initially drew you into the field of law and wealth management.
I didn't discover magic until I moved to Chicago. So I have a whole life that is started in Minnesota. I'm a Minnesotan by heart.
Yes.
All of my education was done in Minnesota. So very briefly, I graduated from a small town high school called Lesueur
Yeah.
High
Oh, sure. Yeah,
These
absolutely.
of the Jolly Green Giant.
Yep.
Right. I was an exchange student, originally from Peru, Lima, Peru,
Okay.
and spent my high school year in Lesueur. And then I liked it so much, I came back to the University of Minnesota. And so yes,
Go Gophers.
go Gophers. Met my husband. We stay in Minnesota. My kids both were born in Minnesota. Daughter went to Visitation. Son went to St. Thomas Academy.
I won't hold that against you.
I believe St. Thomas Academy was a competitor to Jim's high school experience.
That's exactly right.
Where did you go, Jim?
I went to Cretan.
So
Yeah,
there's
so-
bad blood between them.
They are, but
Sure.
let's put it aside.
So I lived in Lakeville, always in the south of the river
Mhm.
because of the school, Mendota Heights. It was such an easy drive to drop the kids off. I started my career in banking at First Banks. If you
Okay.
remember, this is way before US Bank. And I transferred to First Trust, which was the oldest trust company in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I went to law school at William Mitchell at night. So I fell in love with estate planning. I fell in love with family, multi-generational wealth transfers. After law school at Mitchell, I went to practice. I went into private practice for a few years. And later on, I was hired by Merrill Lynch,
Okay.
Merrill Lynch Trust Company. And
Okay.
so always in Minnesota, I've always spent time in the estate planning business, wealth management business, and it's been a full 30 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
And 7 years ago, my boss moved to Chicago and asked if I would join the institution that he was just joining, and that was Bank of New York Mellon. So Bank of New York Mellon wanted to put a regional office in Chicago. I was already involved with the region in my leadership capacity, and I decided to commute to Chicago for the first couple of years and help them to develop the business of wealth management and ultra high net worth business for the Chicago market. And that literally was the beginning of my involvement with the Chicago community and the magic community.
And how did that come about? How did you
Yeah,
sneak into magic?
absolutely.
I know both of my kids were growing up. My son was going to University of Chicago, and so that was another reason why I took the job in Chicago. And the only way you can connect with people when you move into a new city is by understanding the community. Who are the people? And so I went through a list of volunteer opportunities. And one of those opportunities said open heart magic. It kind of caught my attention. And so I went into the website and I did a little bit of my research. And this was a nonprofit organization that brings magic to children among 20 different hospitals in Chicago. But here's the best part. They had a special training program for volunteers. And I went, like, they're going to teach me how to do magic. I was interviewed. They put me through the 6 weeks, 8 weeks training. I learned about the double lift. I learned about turnovers, passes, and I was like in awe. Now, anyone who knows me knows I don't do things halfway. That wasn't enough for me. And so I start digging into the questions, right? Like, well, where do I learn more about this? Is there a university of magic? Is there any specific training program that goes deeper? And the answer was join a local club, go to conventions or conferences. So literally in 2018, I went to my first conference, which was Magi Fest. I did not know a soul. I just knew that I had to be there.
Nice.
I then talked to people about joining the Society of American Magicians because I think you need to be with people that can really talk to you about magic.
Mhm.
And so I joined Assembly 3 for the SAM, which today, after many years, I am now the board member and the regional vice president for SAM. I joined Ring 43 in Chicago for IBM. I joined Conjure Community online with Aaron Fisher. I joined Conjuring Corners here in Chicago. And so you have a mix of online
Good.
and also in person. And I went to Magic Life, which I absolutely love. And then I went further. The last 3 years, I have been at the Retreat, Italy, with Joshua Jay's group of Vanishing Ink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be going to Greece next year with his group. I went to these sessions. Bottom line is you have to try different things. And I have met the best people in this magic community. Recently in July, I went to FISM for the first time.
Wow.
You
are
don't
not
do
kidding
things
around.
halfway.
Yeah.
No
Well,
kidding.
You have to try once. And the
Mhm.
reason is that each convention, each conference fills a little bit of the gap that I need to have to complete my training in magic. I think it's important to not just focus on the trick, but really learn different perspectives. Every conversation I have with magicians help me to understand where magic came from and where it is today.
You are a very good learner.
Absolutely.
I'm trying. And then the books,
I see those back there.
and they're real. Somebody said to me, "Is that a wall drop?" And I go, "No, it is real."
I see
Oh, wow.
Tarbell there behind you and a whole bunch of other stuff.
This is my favorite. Roberto Jovi, Card College.
Yes.
I met him 3 times. And every time I sit down with him, it's like opening a page in the Card College book.
Yeah. Speaking of performing, you are known as Magician Fancy Nancy.
I am.
How did that name come about?
Maybe because I'm fancy. I don't know.
And you are
I-
Nancy and you are a magician. So yeah, it does kind of make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It all
So
scans.
I had the pleasure of being invited to the Chicago Magic Lounge. First, just to get to know the lounge, I became a roundtable member of the Chicago Magic Lounge when they moved to the new location. So I was in Chicago and they invited me, and I had a chance to meet some of the people. I auditioned to become a member. I became a member. And then I was invited to come and do kind of like an internship initially. Ben Barnes said to me that if I wanted to come and get some practice, I could do some table hopping. And then I was there permanently for a few months. And because of my schedule, it is tough to have 2 jobs. And so, but I wanted to have that experience of being with the public, bringing the magic to them, right? Not just to the kids at the hospital, which is my first love, but to be able to be with the general paying, audience. And so that was a real good experience. And when I got there, when you are one of the magicians at the lounge, you are to dress up. And I was all dressed up my first night. And one of the magicians said, "Don't you look fancy? You should be Fancy Nancy."
And there it is.
There it is.
Well, this is just amazing. So when you volunteered with Open Heart,
Yep.
did you have any sense at that moment that magic was going to become such a huge part of your life as it obviously now is?
No, and I will say this, the reason why I was thrilled to be part of the Open Heart Magic community was that you get assigned to a hospital. So I got assigned to Commerce Hospital, which is part of the University of Chicago Children's Hospital. And you go there once a week, every other week. You have an evening, you get there around 5, and you get assigned 8 different patience. So the organization has done a real good job in organizing this type of volunteer activity. And you're able to go one-on-one with the child. You are to bring what we call therapeutical magic. It's not about me being the best magician or bringing the best trick. Those tricks have been tested and proven to be a friendly confidence builder type of trick for a child, where you're supposed to entertain their mind for 10 minutes, teach them a trick, and leave them with a little bit of a bag of magic goodies, which is a deck of cards, sponge balls, magic wand. And I cannot tell you how wonderful that experience was for me. You spend 3 hours with children that are hoping you will show up. You're not going to talk about their illness. You're only going to talk about making them feel better.
Wow.
And it's powerful.
Yeah, it just it touches me in a very profound way. Having children that have spent time in the hospital, I can see how absolutely. Is the organization just in Chicago, or has it spread?
I can see Jim's wheels turning in his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, me too. So there's a satellite office, I think, in Michigan and one in Ohio.
Nothing here in Minnesota?
No. And at one point, I talked to them about Minneapolis because I was very involved with the St. Paul Children's Hospital. And I thought it would be a great fit. But there's a lot of compliance, and you have to make sure that the person who is being the volunteer goes through specific investigation, training, because you're dealing with children.
Sure.
So the organization is funded through donations, and a lot of people do it for 3 or 4 years and then just move on. So there's a lot of movement happening. So you do, as an organization, have to keep training people and keep clearing them just in case, because you're dealing with children.
Boy, I'd love to learn more about it and how that could be something we do here in Minnesota, because my wife is an RN, and we had our son spent a significant amount of time in and out of children's hospitals. So I have a great love for the
too.
organizations that have served us so well. And I would love to talk more about this offline.
Absolutely. Be
Yeah.
happy to make a connection.
All right.
Let me ask you, Nancy, what was the biggest difference you recognized moving from performing magic for these kids in the hospital to grown-ups at tables in the Chicago Magic Lounge? What really surprised you about the difference, or
Um,
maybe the similarity?
I think more similarity. I think inside of us, there is this desire to find wonder. And I think as a magician who is performing to just regular folks, you need to keep in mind that they don't know what you know. And so all what you know is that you're going to make this person feel good. That should be your main ingredient. How do I bring a smile? How do I bring a sense of happiness, even if it's just for a moment? How do I make them feel good? And so it's not about the best trick that you can bring to the person. I think people appreciate the connection. And, I'm being in the business of wealth management and meeting with clients and meeting with families and trying to figure out their investment objectives and things like that. You cannot make any assumptions. So if you are doing table hopping, I would always ask the question, are you excited about magic? They kind of look at you and go, I don't know. This is my first time. But then you can ask the question, are you ready for a magic moment. Are you ready to learn about magic or to see magic? And just prepare them. Prepare them to what is about to happen.
I love it. Have you ever considered just, you know, chucking your law career and becoming a full-time professional magician and letting go of wealth management?
What do you do when you're in between two lovers?
Yeah.
It may sound kind of a Pollyanna to say that I have had a wonderful career. I love clients. I love people. I love to learn. As a estate planning attorney, I'm always learning. And so my mind is always working. Now, I do build a wall. It's literally like having a morning job and a night job. I don't like multitasking. I've never have. And so when I am at work, it's 100% work. And when I'm into magic, I'm 100%. I mean, listen, just like you are interviewing me, I volunteer as a host of the SAM virtual assembly. So once a month, I'm interviewing famous magicians who speak Spanish.
Oh,
So the SAM have virtual assemblies where every month a magician comes and performs and does a lecture. And so a year ago, I took it over. And I have had people like Luis Carrion, Rafael Benatar, Danny de Ortiz, Ricardo Rosencrantz, who owns the Rhapsody Theater here. I mean, I'm
those are names.
seeking talent, and
Yeah.
I spend an hour and a half live the second Thursday of each month. It's done in Spanish for the Spanish members, the Spanish-speaking members. But we purchase a software, and now if you speak English and you don't understand Spanish, you're able to see the translation.
Very
That's
nice.
awesome.
Very
That's
nice.
awesome.
You know, you talked about having a wall between the two. Are your coworkers or any of your clients aware of your skills in magic?
It's in my professional bio that
Mhm.
I belong to a Society of American Magicians. They do know. So if I'm trying a new trick, poor things, they just have to look at. It's real fun. There's a financial advisor I work with in St. Louis who every time he sees me, he goes, "Could you teach me a new trick?" I
Nice.
teach them sometimes if I have time, but my kids are my biggest audience members. So I have a son who's an attorney in Washington, D.C., and he absolutely loves magic, but he's not a magician. He just loves watching magic. And he is very strict. In other words, if I flash, he'll say, "So that you need to work on that." Or if I start a trick and I just do a false shuffle, he'll say, "Let me shuffle the deck."
Yeah.
So,
You've raised yourself an Uncle Harry right there.
That's right.
yes, 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 I'm going to call him that.
I love it. It's just so fascinating to talk to somebody who's got their feet so firmly planted in two completely different worlds, isn't it, John?
And with a wall.
Yeah.
With that
Well,
wall.
and you know, it's only I have so much to learn. And so I cannot wait for the day where I think it's called retirement. I need to go through all of the books. But
Yeah.
reality is that magic takes discipline. But I think it's a great commitment that you have to make because I live in the suburbs of Illinois. I live like 45 minutes away from the city. And with the Magic Roundtable, we have lectures at least 3 times a month on a Sunday morning. And you have to go. You have to drive to Chicago and you have to make a commitment that if you're a member of a club, it's not just for the name, you have to give back. You have to participate. I tell new members that whether you're going to perform or not perform, you should join a club, whether it's IBM, SAM, whatever, that you have to have that community where you can go to and ask questions. When I go to the conventions and a lecture person talks about a magician, he makes the assumption that I know who that person was. I remember going to Magi Fest, and one of the presenters just was throwing up names of famous magicians, and I'm like writing them down so when I get home, I can figure out who these people are. It's important to assume not everybody's in the same level of
Right.
magic education.
Right. You talk about having 30 years of working with
Steve Blank?
clients, sitting across the table
Yeah.
from people talking about their wills and
Yes.
what they're
Trust.
going to leave behind, and trust. And
Yep.
I've sat on the other side of that table with probate people and with a wealth manager. And I'm wondering what you learned from those conversations that helped you perform for real people at the Chicago Magic Lounge or anywhere else. Or in reverse, have you learned anything performing for people that you now bring into your client work beyond just not making assumptions?
John, that's a wonderful question. And I'll answer with two statements. One is magic has taught me to use misdirection when I am working with clients. And my work has helped me to apply a disciplined process to learn magic. So when I am meeting with clients and they are concerned about the wealth transfer, they're concerned about two things: minimizing taxation and making sure that the next generation is going to put the money to good use. I'm lucky enough to deal with a lot of philanthropists who want to give money away to charities. And that helps, right? That's my work. At the same time, on the magic side, I'm on the board of trustee of the endowment fund for the Society of American Magicians, where we are granting money out of this endowment fund. But as a board of trustee, I serve in a fiduciary capacity. And so it's kind of a mix of both traits and experience and skill, where you're able to really bring it all in, whether I'm sitting in the chair of an estate planning attorney or whether I'm performing as a magician. I'm very blessed. I'm telling you, great family, great kids. My mom is still alive in Peru. I'm having the time of my life.
Well,
That's
that's
awesome.
fantastic.
That's awesome. If there are people listening to this who might be successful professionals with maybe like you a passion for magic, what would you say to someone who's hesitant to dive deep into the magic world like you obviously have?
Jim, I think you cannot be everything for everybody. And so I think it's really important to specialize if you can. I think it's important to find the passion that will make you unstoppable. So personally, I don't like coins that much. Coin magic is exciting, but that's not my forte.
It's ironic,
love
given
co-
that you work with money and wealth, that you don't want to do
Yes.
money magic.
No money magic.
No, I do money magic differently. I do. I actually do with bills.
Okay.
But this whole thing of the matrix with coins, I haven't yet explored. So I won't say I don't like it. I just haven't spent much time in it. But what I think magicians today need to focus on is who is the right audience for their magic. And then become the best you can be. Target that segment of the audience that will give you that response because you're bringing in the right magic to them. I observe a lot. I don't criticize anyone because everybody have their own lives. But if you want to become a true magician, I think it's important that you take a step back, write your business plan, review it every 6 months as if you are running your own shop, as if you're running your own business, and trust the professionals. You cannot be your own performer, in your own business manager, in your own marketing person. Outsource it. Use that time for you to become the best image, the best magician.
That's so smart. There are so many performers, and not just magicians, but performers who feel they have to be able to do it all and are really one-man bands or one-person bands. And that's really good advice. I remember on the last season, Jim, I think we mentioned in passing that when I'd spoken to Morgan and West when they were together, and Nancy, we probably saw them at Magi Fest. I think that
Yep.
was where I first saw them. One of the things that Robert said was that as a performing duo, they had set aside a certain amount of their profits every year in a fund in case one of them was unable to perform. And they would have a fund to go to so they could keep the lights on if that were to happen, which is very forward thinking and not the sort
Really?
of thing a performer or magician might first think of. So, Nancy, I'm going to ask you you're wearing two hats right now. You are a magician, but you're also, in the broadest sense of the term, a financial planner. What is the one thing that you wish that magicians, professionals and amateurs alike, what financial advice do they need to heed?
Protection. Protection from creditors, protection from any claims, protection for your family. I was the first thing I wonder, and this was 2 years ago, I think, when one of the famous magicians died in a cruise ship, and the wife was trying to raise money. And my first thought was, Jesus, I hope he created a will. I hope he had life insurance. I hope he was able to protect his retirement account if one existed. I think even though you're young, as you start your career as a magician, you do have to think about tomorrow. And tomorrow would mean putting a percentage of your income into an investment fund for you to have money for a rainy day, and maybe associate yourself with a corporation that can give you benefits so that you can feel like, from a health perspective, from a financial perspective, you are protected. I know that some books have been written about patents and copyrights and how to protect your intellectual property. I'm not a patent attorney. What I can say is that no matter what you earn, try to take a little bit of a piece for yourself. And it's important that you don't look at the career of being a magician without self-care. Everybody deserves a break. Everybody should take a break and take a vacation. Make sure that you're always taking care of your health. I don't drink and I don't smoke. And so health is very important to me. If you're a magician, a lot of times you don't have enough hours to sleep. And I think it's important that you do that.
All very good practical advice. I love the thought as a young magician or as a young performer or as a young anything, starting to save for the future
Yep.
is a really good idea because the younger you are, the less money you need. The older you are, the more money you need.
Right.
And if you start early, boy, it makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Compound interest is your friend.
Yeah,
It
really.
sure is.
The day you
Um,
start is a good day. Let me ask you this. You are so focused on both halves of your life. You
and my
mentioned,
kids.
and your kid, yeah, so the three parts of your life. From the magic side, what is your goal as you move ahead in magic? What's the next big thing you want to accomplish?
Well, I think I can be a consultant. I went to FISM, and because I speak Spanish, a transaction was being made between a magician from Spain and a company. And I was able to help him. the magician to think of the transaction not just as a handshake and yeah, we'll figure it out. I spent an hour or two explaining to him about the formalities of a business transaction. And he wanted to give me a commission. And I said, no, I don't need the money. Consider this a pro bono. And from my perspective, it was a way of sharing my knowledge that he didn't have. He is part of my community. He is a magician, and he should be able to win. It should be a win-win situation. I cannot go into the details, but the reality is that without me being there, he would have delayed the transaction. He would have opened himself to, well, we didn't talk about this. Who is going to do the shipping? When is the delivery estimated date? And things like that. This was the sale of a piece of magic, let's just call it, item. And so I think there's an opportunity for consultants in magic, but the consultants in magic have to look at the future because magic is changing, right? So helping a magician to project what their business plan next year, you have to utilize services and people that can really help. So that's one.
And how helpful is it that not only are you an attorney, but you also understand magic? Yeah. And how many professionals that a magician would try to deal with would have both those sides of the equation, that they'd be able to know what the concerns are of a magician. That is that's different than everyday concerns.
Yeah.
Jim, as a full-time performer, you have different concerns than I did when I was working for a company.
Right. Yeah. It's this has been a really fascinating conversation, and I never get tired of talking to smart people who have figured things out that I'm sort of able to look into their world and go, ooh, I'm going to take this little piece now and I'm going to borrow that and try this in my life. A really charming person, but so thoughtful and knowledgeable. And I really like your talk about using the discipline you learned becoming a lawyer and turning that towards magic, because I don't know that all of us do that. Take the discipline that we have in other areas of our life and apply it to what is an avocation for some. That's a really powerful idea.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm always taking notes. I always have a little notebook. I was able to teach at William Mitchell, estate planning. This is now 10 years ago. And I'm very active on nonprofits because I think we can always make the time to give back.
That's the most exciting thing, I think, in the entire podcast history of this show. That excites me beyond anything we've heard up to this point. This idea of children's hospitals and doing magic for kids, and a program that's already sort of curated and you just sort of follow the steps. I can't get enough of that. That's just fantastic stuff.
Well, you've spent time in children's hospitals and you know what that atmosphere is like. And to have somebody come in and not talk about the thing,
right,
but to do magic, it's just got to be beyond a day brightener.
Well, it's got my, as you said in the interview, wheels turning. It's just such a great idea. And we know so many people in our little world here in the Twin Cities that might be able to give back in a way that would be significant.
Yeah.
And they're all really good people and really good magicians. And it would force me to, I just, my wheels are turning. I just think it's a tremendous program and we should have it here in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Well, I will add this little bit of fuel to your fire. We have a mutual friend, Mr. Peter Moore, who
Yep.
I know goes to at least one children's hospital every once in a while to read to the kids because he's a very good emoter actor. If
Oh,
there's
I would love to
programs
do
like
that.
that in place, certainly the addition of a magician showing up, they'd love that. So anyway, this might be an off mic
That
thing.
might be a brand new podcast.
It might be. It might be, or it might just be something as you sink into your golden years. This is
Are they here? I keep looking.
the thing about Zoom is it takes out any extraneous sounds, but I think there is something knocking at your door.
I'm not answering.
No, they come on in. They come
Yeah.
right on in.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I loved talking to Nancy, and I really was fascinated by. She has a wall. She's put up a wall, sort of like Raj.
Yeah.
There's work and there's the other thing, and the other thing doesn't have to go into work. She's able to, because she's a grown up, she's able to separate things and keep different worlds. And I just think that's great that it doesn't have to be her whole life, but it's an important part of her life.
Right. Yeah. I also really like the idea, especially for anybody who is on the younger side as a performer, the idea that there's gonna come a tomorrow and you should be prepared for it.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to prepare yourself for it if you're disciplined, which that's, I think, the biggest takeaway for me from this interview was the discipline with which she approaches all the facets of her life. And it's something we can all be better at. I'm certainly the poster child for undisciplined. But hearing somebody talk about it in a way that makes it approachable and, oh, you would just do this. I think as a young performer, I'll be honest, I might not have heard that the same way I hear it now as a performer who's getting a knock on the door from the golden years.
Yeah.
But if you are a young performer, man, time now, you could put a little away, or if you wait, you're going to have to put a lot away, and that's hard. So get on board with that idea, because I think that's terrific.
Compound interest is your friend.
Absolutely.
There's a book out there, I believe it's called The Wealthy Barber. Get it from your library. Very simple point of view on how to do that sort of thing. And I'm always reminded when we talk about this sort of thing of our friends Morgan and West, who are no longer a duo, but who very smart guys and performed for 15 years together. And not only, I would imagine, were putting money away for their retirement, but also put money away for if one of them got sick. And if one of them got sick, neither one of them could work.
Right.
And they put together a fund to cover that, which I think might have come in handy when they were in COVID. It's that sort of thinking that'll help you be successful later. You'll look back on it and go, boy, I'm sure glad I did that.
You almost think somebody like Nancy, with the expertise of estate planning and thinking ahead, there would be a niche market where she could say, listen, you young magicians, you young clowns, you young actors, you young trapeze artists, here's what we do. Here's how you do this so that in 30 years, you're not having to maintain your trapeze artist body. This is how this works, and it's simple, and we do it, and it's not going to kill you, and you don't have to be scared. It would seem like if she Nancy, if you're listening to this podcast,
and she is,
I would encourage you to think about that there would be a whole new level of giving back in shepherding young performers to a place where their feet are more firmly planted in their later years than maybe they would be without you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your use of the word clown is going to take me into a tangent. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm off and running.
My good friend Dan Rolls tells this story. This will mean nothing to people outside of the Twin Cities, but he was listening at one point years ago to Sid Hartman on the radio. Now, of course,
Yeah.
Jim, you know Sid
Yeah,
Hartman, sports writer. And Sid was saying on his radio show something like, it was after a Vikings game, and he said, I am so tired of these Monday morning quarterbacks, these clowns, these geniuses who have it all figured out. They don't know what it's like to be out in the field. I just am tired of listening to them. Then he went to a commercial. During the commercial, Dan called into the station, because you could do that, and got Sid and said, I was just listening, and I really have to take offense at what you said, because I make my living as a clown, and I make a good living as a clown, and I do a lot of charity work. And for you to denigrate clowns like that, and also, by the way, I'm a member of Mensa, so I'm also a genius. I just don't think you should throw those terms around. Commercial's over. Sid comes back on the mic and says, you know, the thing I said earlier about the clowns, I want to take that back. They do a lot of good work. And the people of Mensa, they're out there. Dan gets a phone call from a friend of his saying, did you call during the commercial break? I'm sorry about what I said about the clowns. They do a lot of good work. Yeah, I just love that. And speaking of things that I love, you're going to go first, but I'm going to knock you out when we get to mine. So yours better be good.
Well,
Knock you out.
I heard that, and it rocked me back on my what they call heels. And
Yeah.
you know, my ankles are not what they once were. So we never had Max Maven on this program.
We did not.
Because we were waiting for the right moment or the right topic, and he had such a broad swath of things he could talk about, and then he's gone too soon.
Well,
and
if
we
I
don't
can
get
add
to talk
in,
to him. Yeah,
one of the primary reasons we didn't have him on was he got sick just about the time that we started,
right,
and then he got a little bit better, and then he didn't get better.
right.
And it would have been, I felt, entirely selfish on our part to intrude when he had a lot of other stuff going on. But I will say that I did get a note from Nick DeFott after Max died, and Nick was involved in cleaning up Max's apartment and sorting things out after he died. And he said on Max's coffee table, on top of a stack of books, was a copy of the first Eli Marks book, The Ambitious Guard. So anyway, yeah, we never had Max on. You're right.
And the only reason I bring that up is because there are things that I love that I've sort of been sitting on, thinking, well, I'm going to hold that. It's time to start releasing the hounds.
Okay.
And so I'm going to go with my second favorite movie that I revisit on a regular basis, The Sting.
Chicago was the place to be in 1936. In those days, the big con was a dying art, until a first-class grifter on the lam from the FBI and a young gaffer from Joliet joined forces to con the Big Mick.
He's not as tough as he thinks. Neither are we.
Paul Newman is Henry Gondorff. There wasn't a con he couldn't run, and there wasn't a sucker he couldn't gaff. Robert Redford is Johnny Hooker, a young grifter with plenty of moxie.
$3 grand on the red, Jimmy.
But he's a sucker for Lady Luck
Tough luck, kid.
and a sap for Lady Love.
Thanks for the big evening, Hooker. Next time you want to spend $50 on me, mail it.
Come on, will you?
Robert Shaw is the Mark. In the underworld, he's the Big Mick.
Name's Lonergan. Doyle Lonergan.
It starts with the setup.
You owe me 15 grand, pal.
Then you bait the hook.
Your boss is quite a card player, Mr. Kelly. How does he do it?
He cheats.
You play him on the wire.
The wire's been out of date for 10 years.
That's why he won't know it.
Now he's ready for the sting.
500
$100,000 to win. Lucky Dan.
Paul Newman and Robert Redford. This time, they might get away with it.
I think it is almost a perfect movie. I enjoy it even after I'm at this point, I've probably seen it, I don't know, 50 times. And every time I watch it, I see some little thing that it's just a wonderful movie. And if you have not seen it, I'm not going to tell you anything about it because there's so much that you are going to be overjoyed with as this movie progresses. But it is two guys, not just two. Every actor in that thing is at the top of their game during the filming of that movie. And Redford and Newman together for the second time, and really the last time too. They never found a third film. They were looking for one, but Paul, like Max, passed before they could get it done. So this is I love that. It's my second favorite movie, and it on any given day, I might elevate it to the number one spot, but it's certainly a decent. I love that, and the only reason I don't bring it up is because I think, oh well, everybody has watched The Sting. Everybody knows about The Sting, but it was filmed in 73
somewhere around there. Yeah,
yeah. So there is a swath of people maybe listening to this podcast who have no frame of reference, certainly didn't see it in the theater like I did when it came out for the first time, that might go, I guess I sort of heard of it, but I don't think I've ever watched it. If you've never watched it, you're in for a rare treat. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie, and my first or second favorite, depending on the day. And I'm not going to tell you what might be the first,
all right,
in case I might want to. I love that down the road, so don't even ask me.
All right. Well, I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm not going to argue with you about The Sting because you know the minor problem I have with it. I think it is a fantastic movie. I think everybody is great in it. I think the way Eileen Brennan chooses to move in that movie, as soon as I say Eileen Brennan, The Sting, you know exactly how she walked.
Yeah.
She picked a thing, and it was, James Earl Jones's father, James Earl Jones Sr. is in that movie. Ray Walsh.
Who does she play?
He plays
Luther?
Luther, the guy who gets killed.
You are kidding me. See? And I've watched that movie 50 times. I never knew that was... I'm going to watch it again tonight now.
Well, okay, let's just double check because I don't want to be the guy who...
Please make sure that's right.
I will say, as we're talking about that, this isn't my... I love that, but I was just kind of revisiting the career of George Roy Hill because I'm doing a project that involves talking about Slaughterhouse-5, which he did after Butch Cassidy and before The Sting. And Robert Earl Jones plays Luther.
Unbelievable. That's fantastic news for me. Yeah. It now another reason to love that movie.
Well, he's such a good director. I mean, he's just an amazing. He's one of these people like Herbert Ross or Michael Curtiz. These people who don't have an identifiable style, except that they always make the right choices.
Yeah,
which I think is an identifiable style. And if you look at just that period of Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, there's Great Waldo Pepper is in there as well, which is sort of a misfire for him.
Oh, I love that movie.
Well, yeah, but people didn't because you don't kill somebody the way he kills somebody in that movie. He loses the audience.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse-5.
Smoking. Waldo is smoking.
Slaughterhouse-5 could not be more different than that. And then to not only do The Sting, but to figure out musically what the should do. It was his idea to use Scott Joplin.
Right.
And Marvin Hamlish said, that's not correct. This is a 30s movie. Joplin is a 20s. And George Roy Hill said, you're the only person in the world who knows or cares about that.
That's right.
And he was absolutely right. He
Yeah.
picked everything was right. David Ward's script, which is based on a book, I think, called The Con Man. Is that right?
The Big Con, I
The
think.
Big Con. That's it.
Yeah.
That lays out how these sting operations work. Yeah, it's just, it's a pretty perfect movie. It's pretty perfect.
It really is. And they're from top to bottom, everybody in this film is throwing strikes. It's
Harold
just
Gould.
Harold Gould. Charles Durning.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a
Jack
week.
Kehoe. Let's hear it for Jack
Robert
Kehoe.
Shaw.
Oh,
It's-
yes.
I mean, it's so good. It's such a good film. And the part, in conjunction with that, I will say, after you watch the movie, go to YouTube and search the making of The Sting, because there is about a 40-minute making of The Sting where both actors, the big actors, and some of the smaller roles as well, weigh in on the process. And George Roy Hill, by this point, is dead, so we don't get to hear from him, but we get to hear about him and how it all came together, and that's pretty fun too, which is what led me back to The Sting. I stumbled on that making of, and then went, I'm going to watch it again. So I watched it just recently. Fabulous movie. That's my I love that for this.
Well, that is, I'll just throw in, if you want to see George Roy Hill in person, alive, on a film, he directed The World According to Garp, and he plays the pilot who crashes his plane into the house. He's the pilot who steps out and says, how you doing, folks? Because he was a pilot. All right, so my I love that. Boy, it's weird when wires cross like this, because mine is going to be Mac Davis and Jackie Gleason in The Sting 2.
And there it is in a nutshell, right there. You go from The Sting to The Sting 2, and you see what people at the top of their game are capable of, and then what people should never attempt is a follow-up like that.
I'm just kidding. No, my I love that is a show that I don't think they make anymore, but I think they did about 6 or 8 seasons of it. You can find it on Roku or Tubi with commercials. It's called Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing. And if you are one of our overseas listeners, you probably know Bob Mortimer. You probably know Paul Whitehouse. They're both in the comedy business in Great Britain. Bob Mortimer is also a novelist, but he was part of Vic and Bob, which is a big comedy team back then. Anyway, they both had heart issues and heart surgery. And they were friends, and Paul Whitehouse felt that Bob Mortimer was kind of receding into his house and not coming out. And he started to invite him fishing. And they got the BBC to follow them. So every episode, they go to a different place in the UK. Paul Whitehouse is an expert fisherman. He's been doing it forever. Bob Mortimer gets better at it. Isn't very good to begin with. Gets yelled at a lot. But don't do that. Don't reel it in yet. No. But every episode they go someplace beautiful, and it's beautifully shot, and they fish for a while, and then Bob makes a heart-healthy lunch on the shore somehow, and then he's picked a weird B&B sort of thing for them to stay at that night, like they're going to stay in a tree house that's a B&B, or they're going to stay in a train to B&B, all these different things, and then they fish again the next day.
Hey, since we've been up this morning, Paul, we've complained about hips, knees.
Tell you where to start. Toenails.
My toenails?
Yeah, your toenails.
Well, they're
what are they like, Bob? I dread to think.
They're getting very thick.
Are they?
Yeah, I can't really get the scissors through them. I have to use a bread knife to start
The bread knife.
To get a start.
Get the purchase on it. Right, moving up the calves.
My calves are sweet, and I have got very good calves because
you've got good legs, Bob.
Because I've got restless leg syndrome.
What's that mean?
Where you get this tingle. It's like a feather's tickling your shin bone at the back.
Oh, right.
So I do that all night.
Do you?
Yeah,
All night?
and I've built up really nice calves because of that.
Oh, right, okay. So night exercises.
Yeah.
What about your knees?
Knees pretty good.
The frontal area, any problems?
Front private. Me Max Harrison.
Yeah. Your Sevi Ballesteros.
And it's just these two old friends spending the time together, just chatting, asking each other questions, doing bits. And my wife turned to me at one point and she said, well, that's just the British version of you and Cunningham, isn't it? I said, there could be a series here.
Neither of us fish.
No, but it wouldn't be us. It'd be doing something else. One of us, you know, you have far more hobbies than I do. So it'd be you dragging me along to something. Anyway, it is, it's a show that we will watch right before we go to sleep. It is totally Rachel friendly,
There you go.
It is a balm. It is a balm because it is beautiful and it is calm and it is loving.
We can use all of that in these
Yes.
troubled times that
Exactly.
we're experiencing.
So at the end of each evening, we will watch an episode of Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing. And
And you say it's on the Roku?
It's on the Roku and it's also on Tubi. And Tubi is pretty easy to get. Roku, I think you
I
can
think
get a
we
thing
have Roku, so I
Yeah.
should be able to find it.
called Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing.
I will look it up.
Yes. So I was not familiar with Paul Whitehouse before that, but I certainly knew Bob Mortimer from, he's on a show called Would I Lie to You? He's very well known for his ability to lie on that show convincingly. And he's also a lovely novelist and all that. Anyway, that is this episode's. I love that.
We got to get down to business now.
We do.
We have had a lot of chatting for this episode.
Really have been jabbering. Okay.
All right. Am I right in saying last time I read chapter 6 of Twisting the Aces? So is that right?
Well,
It's been a while.
This is 607, so it must
All right.
be.
Yes,
Yes.
that must be. Can you recap before I launch?
Sure. All right. So they've been waiting in the bar because Diego's stepped away. Harry and Eli talk a little bit about homicide detective Fred Hutton. Harry's helping out at the Magic Castle by performing impromptu shows because they have all those people who've been displaced. We learn a little bit more about Woody, the bartender, and his frustration with the late Mason Drexel's dismissive attitude toward his magic trick. And then when Detective Diego returns, Eli discovers that he is, in the detective's mind, the only suspect in the murder of Mason Drexel. And that takes us right into chapter 7.
Here we go. Chapter 7. My brain could barely compute Detective Diego's accusation. Wait a second. If I'm your only suspect and you need to keep me in sight, why did you just leave me alone? I needed to secure the safe, and you were not alone. You were being watched. I glanced around nervously, now feeling entirely paranoid as I followed the detective. We moved through a side door marked Employees Only and entered the backstage area of the Palace of Mystery. The transition from the entertainment area of the Magic Castle to the employees' domain was a zap to the senses. Members and their guests encounter spacious hallways with mahogany-paneled walls, floral carpets, and elegance fit for a luxury castle. The portal we stepped through brought us to what seemed like the hub of a hamster habit trail system for the help. I'd been back here a couple of times assisting Harry when he headlined, so I mentally prepared myself for the surprisingly tight quarters. The area consisted of a small vestibule with 4 connecting corridors that would easily cause a traffic jam if more than 2 people were in the hallway at the same time. To my immediate left was a walkway with access to the stage, the wings, and multiple rows of curtains. Straight ahead-ish was a narrow hallway with 4 small dressing rooms, which looked like they'd been subdivided from a tiny broom closet. And next to that, a slightly larger green room, which actually sported a green couch. A little to the right was a ramp that led outside to the parking lot.
Stage magicians with large props like the zigzag box and metamorphosis trunk would back their vehicle up to the rear entry doors. Then they'd unload all their cargo and roll it through walkways straight onto the Palace of Mystery main stage. To my immediate right were the employees' break room, lockers, and benches. Walls typically adorned with photos of famous magicians and framed show billboards had been replaced with OSHA safety notices and first aid posters, probably including one on the proper manner in which to perform CPR. Irony knows no bounds. Detective Diego stiff-armed the door, heading full speed for the dressing rooms. I nearly had to jog to keep pace. That was when we collided, with a couple of bodies coming the other way. "Potts, watch where you're going!" I stood frozen at the sound of that voice, which was simultaneously both familiar and annoying. I'd known he was performing at the castle this week, but had hoped to avoid him the one night I was in the building. As it turned out, no such luck. It was Simon Hartwell. It seems weird, as an alleged adult, to have a nemesis, but that was the simplest term to describe our relationship. His whiny and combative tone had irritated me from the first day we met back in 9th grade. We'd been locked on the same career path for years, professional magician, and it had become an ongoing and seemingly never-ending competition. Add in the fact that he was performing on stage at the Magic Castle, and I was here as a guest, not even a member, a dollop of information which provided even more lemon juice for the ongoing paper cut which was our relationship. "Marks, of course. I should have known you had something to do with this." Our collision had knocked several of his props to the floor. His female companion immediately bent down to retrieve them. I got down on one knee to help. Typically, Simon didn't lift a finger. "Are you okay?" I asked the woman. "It's Cassandra, right? Sorry about that. I didn't see you." "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just an accident. It happens," she said, dusting herself off. I picked up a change bag, Chinese magic sticks, a milk pitcher, tore a Dove box, and a production pan, and handed the items to Cassandra. She took them, but didn't look at me. I could see her eyes were red, like she had been crying. "You two know each other?" asked Detective Diego, looking from Hartwell to me and back to Hartwell. "Are you kidding me? I've known Eli for years. He's the magician who Twin Cities folks hire when I'm not available," Hartwell said in his patented "aren't I funny" mocking tone. Although my mind was flooded with razor-sharp comebacks, I chose not to respond. Then Detective Diego cocked his head at me and raised an eyebrow. I could see he was looking for my perspective. "This is Simon Hartwell. We both grew up in the Twin Cities. We're both magicians." That explanation summed up everything and nothing. I hoped the detective could connect the invisible dots. The simple truth of it was, I didn't have any respect for Simon Hartwell as a person or a performer. To me, he'd always come off as a bad version of an insult comic who also did some magic tricks. He didn't respect his audience, and he certainly didn't respect the art of magic. The fact that he appeared to be making a pretty good living with that attitude added more insult to the injury. Back in the day, Harry and I would see Don Rickles, a true stand-up legend known for his insult comedy. He earned the nickname Mr. Warmth for poking fun at people of all ethnicities and all walks of life. A quality insult comic is a rare breed. It requires timing, intelligence, humor, and finesse. Simon Hartwell had none of those qualities in spades. His volunteers were made to look dumb or foolish. I'd watched his act several times over the years to see what I was up against, and just didn't get it. Why would someone hire a mean-spirited magician? "And you are?" Diego asked, turning his attention to Cassandra. Cassandra, she said quickly, sounding as frazzled as she looked. Cassandra Dickerson. I work with Simon. She's my assistant, Simon added. Performance partner, she corrected. Whatever.
And what are you two doing back here? Detective Diego's question put an end to the bickering.
I was scheduled to be the next act on stage after Mason, Simon whined. Now they're moving me next door to the parlor of prestidigitation, and I have to share the bill with some no-name hack. And all because Mason died on stage, and now it's apparently some sort of crime scene, he added, employing over-exaggerated air quotes.
The Palace of Mystery is indeed a crime scene, Diego responded. It will be released as soon as the LAPD can resolve this matter.
It's not fair. My show deserves to be seen on the big stage. Plus, your people won't let me take my props from the dressing room. You're treating me like a criminal. My whole act is in that dressing room.
In that case, what is this equipment? Detective Diego said, and pointed to the odd assortment of items in Cassandra's hands.
I got these props from my car, which, to the best of my knowledge, is not yet a crime scene, Simon snapped. Again, he used air quotes, just not as emphatically. Diego looked at me. I nodded my head. I recognize all those items. They're from Simon's high school act, such as it was. Simon ignored this verbal jab, instead turning and pointing to the dressing room. I need my case from the dressing room, he said, drawing out need into 2 syllables. He then shifted his attitude, trying to turn on the charm. Let's do this. I'll just tell the guard that you said I could slip in and grab my items. He turned to go, but Detective Diego took his arm.
Mr. Hartwell, I did not say that. You will not be retrieving anything from the dressing room. That, too, is part of the crime scene. You may take the items you have here and go.
Simon's face paled, then turned a lovely shade of red. Appropriately chastised, he put his head down and forcibly bumped my shoulder as he walked by. Hey, Simon, I'm sure you can borrow a deck of cards from someone if you need it. He pulled up short, turned around, and put his hands on his hips. And what would I do with that? He snarled. I don't know, but Harry's doing an entire impromptu show in the Hat and Hare with just a borrowed deck of cards. Of course he is. More of Harry's tedious old-world charm, he huffed, actually huffed at me, and stomped away like the spoiled child he's always been. Cassandra scurried along after him. And that, Detective Diego, is the one and only Simon Hartwell. First impressions? He considered this for a long moment.
It's nice to be important, he finally said, but it's more important to be nice.
My heart smiled. For all his gruffness, I believe Detective Diego had connected the dots.
And how well do you know Miss Dickerson?
I shrugged. Not at all, really. I've seen her on stage a couple of times, but this was the first time I've ever talked to her.
She appears to be submissive to Mr. Hartwell.
You could say that. Intimidated, acquiescent, subservient even. I'm a proud member of Synonyms R Us, I said, hoping to get a smile out of the detective and failing. So I continued the thought. In short, I get the feeling there's a little battered assistant syndrome going on there.
It's enough of a thing that there's a term for it? Battered assistant syndrome?
Well, that's hardly an official diagnosis, and it's far less common nowadays. How can I explain this? We had stopped outside the dressing room door. To use an example, I continued, to become a detective, you probably started as an officer and learned the basics. Then you read some books on how to detect. You passed a test and graduated. But at that point, you're a detective that's a little wet behind the ears. So you're matched up with a seasoned investigator who helps you apply your book smarts to develop your street smarts.
Ah, yes, that is often the case. I was fortunate to have a wonderful mentor.
Me too. My Uncle Harry was my mentor. Well, he could be tough at times and is a serious cranky pants. Harry has always been an excellent mentor. I was very fortunate.
And what of Mr. Hartwell?
Funny you should ask that. While I had Harry to work with, Simon never really found a mentor as a kid. He was just too much of a know-it-all, a trait he got from his father, so he really never had a strong role model. However, I continued, I know that in the last few years he tried to make a mentor connection with Mason Drexel. Word on the street was that the results weren't stellar. According to Harry, a lot of people tried to have a mentor relationship with Mason with little success. However, Simon stuck it out longer than most. I'll give him credit for that. Detective Diego had nodded throughout my short mentor monologue.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. That is indeed valuable information. I know in my own case with my mentor, we eventually achieved an equal balance between the mentor and mentee.
I winced.
What's wrong? He asked.
Just a quick tip. Harry, the elder, Mr. Marks, dislikes the word mentee. Loathes it, actually. So if you find yourself asking him about Mason and Simon's relationship, the terms he prefers are mentor and Telemachus. In fact, use those terms and you'll find a friend for life. They're taken from a big story, a poem, really, in Greek mythology.
Yes, the Odyssey, he said, by Homer. It follows the Greek hero Odysseus on his journey home after the Trojan War. He had a son named Telemachus. When Odysseus went off to fight in the war, he asked his best friend, Mentor, to watch over his son in his absence. This created the mentor-Telemachus relationship.
While he spoke, Detective Diego snapped on a pair of blue latex gloves. He nodded at the officer standing next to the dressing room door and swung the door open for both of us. Detective, I said, I suspect you and my Uncle Harry are going to get along just fine.
Look at how you fixed something from the way back machine.
Yeah. Well,
that was my single favorite moment so far in the entire podcast was Teller stopping us short after one sentence about mentor-mentee and rocking you back on your heels. So to see you rocked back was fun for me. I don't know if the listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, but it was a good moment, and now you fixed it.
Well, I put it as Nora Ephron said, I believe it's Nora Ephron who said, everything is copy. And everything is. Everything's usable. So I'm glad you like that. I'm also glad that Simon Hartwell turns up. Simon is the nemesis.
Yes.
Who I don't think appears until the floating light bulb is when he's mentioned, which would be book 5. But he's also a very big part of the prequel, The Curious Mysteries of Eli Marks. So he's both been around for a while and not really been around for a while. And now he's...
Nice to have him back.
It is. He's a dink. He's just a dink.
Well, I enjoyed this episode very, very much. I hope you did too, folks.
I certainly did. Now, that's it for this episode 607. Next time, we're going to listen to Chapter 8 of Twisting the Aces, co-written with Michael Varma. And he's going to chat with the director of food and beverage at the Magic Castle, Janine Puente.
Come hungry, because she's going to talk about a lot of good stuff.
It really is. You've learned, if you didn't know the Magic Castle was a machine, you're going to learn how the machine runs, and it's with people like Janine who keep it well oiled and moving. It's a pretty interesting conversation. So we do that, and we'll do Chapter 8 of Twisting the Aces. Otherwise, be good to each other, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Amen to that.
This has been Behind the Page, the Eli Marks podcast, with your hosts, John Gaspard and Jim Cunningham. Produced by Alberts Bridge Books at Grass Lake Studios. Find this podcast and all the books in the Eli Marks series at EliMarksMysteries.com. That's ELIMARKS Mysteries.com. And thanks for listening.